In the opening scene of the movie, we meet Peabody, a highly intelligent and sentient dog with a wide range of talents. Unfortunately, because of his exceptionally high IQ, he was never adopted by a human and spent his early years alone as a puppy. Despite lacking a loving family, Peabody was determined to excel in life. Armed with his intellect and unwavering determination, he graduated from Harvard and became one of the greatest inventors of his time. Among Peabody's numerous inventions, his most significant creation is a time machine called the Wayback. Keeping it a secret, he only shares its existence with his adoptive son, Sherman. Together, they occasionally use the time machine to travel back in time and explore ancient civilizations. During one adventure, they find themselves in France, witnessing the French Revolution firsthand. To blend in, they attend a lavish ball with French upperclassmen. However, chaos erupts as the revolution begins, and Peabody and Sherman get separated. The genius dog is captured alongside the aristocrats and sentenced to death by the guillotine. As the executioner prepares to end Peabody's life, Sherman cries out in horror. But Peabody remains calm and reassures his son. Unbeknownst to the vengeful crowd, Peabody has a clever escape plan. When the guillotine's blade drops, it reveals that he had replaced himself with a decapitated coconut, successfully enacting his escape. Peabody emerges from the underground sewers, rescuing Sherman, and they quickly flee the scene. Curious about how he pulled off the escape, Sherman asks Peabody for an explanation. The genius dog reveals that he meticulously calculated and exploited various factors, including the sun's reflection and the city sewer system, to free himself from the trap. However, their adventure is far from over. They are soon discovered and cornered by an angry gang of French guards. Using his skills, Peabody engages the head guard in a fencing match and emerges victorious. He then cleverly uses a discarded barricade to unleash a heavy torrent of water that washes away the rest of the guards. Taking advantage of the methane gas in the area, Peabody creates a fiery explosion, propelling them out of the sewers and into a nearby forest. There, they locate the Wayback Machine, board it, and finally make their way home. The following day, Peabody takes his son to school as Sherman officially begins his formal education. On his first day of school, Sherman impresses his teacher with his outstanding knowledge of history, earning admiration from the tutor. However, this also causes him to be despised by some of the students, including star pupil Penny. During lunch, an envious Penny confronts Sherman and bullies him fiercely, calling him a dog while the other students helplessly watch and laugh. With no other option, Sherman bites Penny's arm, causing significant scarring and bleeding. A teacher intervenes and breaks up the fight. Shortly after, Mr. Peabody is summoned to the principal's office and informed of his son's involvement in the brutal accident. Peabody is shocked as Sherman had never shown any acts of violence before. Before the concerned dad can raise any complaints, a child protective service agent named Miss Grunion enters the room. Due to Sherman's fight, Miss Grunion suspects that Peabody may not be a suitable guardian for a human child. She informs Peabody that she will visit his home to gauge his competence as a guardian, and if he fails her inspection, Sherman may be taken away from him. Hearing this, Peabody decides to keep the pending visit a secret from Sherman and takes proactive steps to prepare for the inspection. Firstly, Peabody reprimands Sherman for his involvement in the fight and invites Penny and her parents over to reconcile their differences. While the parents have dinner, Sherman and Penny hang out together. Despite Peabody's instruction, Penny stubbornly maintains and displays her hatred for Sherman. In his attempt to bond with her, Sherman unintentionally reveals the secret of his father's time machine. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Sherman rushes to his dad and informs him of what happened. Naturally, Peabody is furious at Sherman for revealing the secret of the time machine. However, he quickly regains his composure and uses a hypnosis technique to place Penny's parents in a trance, preventing them from asking questions. Once the trance is complete, father and son race to the Wayback Machine and trace Penny to ancient Egypt. There, they discover that the delinquent girl has become engaged to an Egyptian pharaoh and plans on inheriting his fortune once he passes away. The duo tries to convince Penny to return home, but she remains stubborn about staying in ancient Egypt. Peabody and Sherman face a difficult decision as they try to handle the situation and bring Penny back home safely. However, Penny's desire to stay in ancient Egypt is short-lived as she discovers the grim custom where the pharaoh's wife is to be killed upon his passing. Terrified, she tries to back out of the engagement and return home with Sherman and Peabody. However, the Egyptian royals forbid her from leaving, capturing Penny and imprisoning Peabody and his son in an underground crypt. With quick thinking, the resourceful dog finds a secret room leading to an exit. They must carefully walk on a series of floor tiles, most of which trigger booby traps. Using his genius intellect, Peabody easily decodes the safe path, allowing them to reach the other side. Sherman mirrors his father's footsteps and crosses over safely, but he mistakenly steps on the wrong tile at the final set, triggering the traps and causing the walls to cave in. They quickly move to the next room and find a boat atop a slippery slide within the collapsing crypt. Father and son board the vessel, which transports them through a narrow exit leading outside. Luckily, they land safely on soft sand, cushioning their turbulent fall. After recovering, they head to the Egyptian palace, where Penny's marriage ceremony is taking place. The duo infiltrates one of the palace's statues and impersonates the god Anubis, threatening the Egyptian people with plagues if the ceremony continues. This ruse convinces the officiating priest and the Egyptian royals to stop the ceremony temporarily. However, their disguise doesn't last long, and Peabody and Sherman are discovered when the statue breaks due to their combined weight. Now exposed, Peabody and Sherman quickly rescue Penny and escape from an army of chasing guards. Fortunately, they make it to the Wayback Machine just in time, and they swiftly board it to begin their journey back home. On the way, Sherman learns about the impending visit from the child protection agent, which greatly shocks him and sparks a massive argument between him and Peabody. The young boy expresses his displeasure over his dad keeping secrets from him. Before the argument can continue, the trio encounters a black hole that sucks their time machine toward it. The magnetic vacuum sends the Wayback into overdrive, and Peabody desperately tries to steer clear of danger. Thankfully, the genius dog manages to power up the time machine, and they speed off to another ancient period, this time arriving in 1184 BC, marking the brink of the Trojan War. Upon arrival, Peabody and Penny discover that an angry Sherman has left the time pod and gone ahead of them, running from the ensuing Trojan War. Worried, the duo searches and soon locates Sherman in the nearby city of Troy, where they find him being chased by enemy forces. Just in time, Peabody arrives and saves Sherman from the attacking soldiers. Meanwhile, Penny finds herself trapped inside the historic Trojan horse and calls out to Peabody and Sherman for help as the structure swiftly approaches a nearby cliff. Hearing her screams, an assertive Peabody uses a rope to stop the statue's movement right at the edge of the cliff, saving Penny. Father and son enter the Trojan horse to retrieve the young girl, but Sherman accidentally disrupts the structure's balance, causing it to start falling down the cliff. Swiftly acting, Peabody jumps and saves the two scared kids, blasting them out of the wooden horse as he sacrifices himself in the process. A shocked Sherman is horrified by the recent tragic events but ultimately decides to return home with Penny. However, instead of returning to the present, Sherman sets their destination a few hours in the past so he can meet an undead version of his father and ask for help. When setting the destination, Sherman receives a warning from the Wayback's processor, cautioning against teleporting to a recent time period where he already exists. This could create two versions of himself in a single universe, leading to a space-time fracture and potentially causing the end of the world. Despite the warning, a determined Sherman is troubled but decides to embark on the mission regardless. He and Penny return to the past and meet the older version of Peabody in the kitchen, telling him all that has transpired and asking for help in saving his future self. However, before the genius dog can come up with a plan, their conversation gets interrupted as Miss Grunion, the child protection worker, walks in. Coincidentally, the future version of Peabody arrives at the same time, revealing that he didn't actually die in the crash as they previously thought. To make matters worse, the present-day Sherman also arrives at the scene, resulting in two copies of father and son. Before they can comprehend the situation, a wormhole appears and sucks in both copies of Peabody and Sherman, merging them into a single original form. An already distrustful Miss Grunion, who witnessed the entire event, declares the canine guardian unfit to be a parent to Sherman. However, the daring young boy frees himself from her grasp and reunites with Peabody and Penny. As the trio returns to the Wayback, they try to travel back in time to correct their mess. However, they soon realize that the space-time continuum has been rendered unstable due to the merging of their two versions, preventing them from traveling to the past. Moreover, the unstable space-time dimension causes a series of wormholes to appear in the sky, bringing various prominent figures from different eras, such as Einstein, Da Vinci, and George Washington, to the present within minutes. Giant rocks and artifacts are also teleported to the present, crushing the city and posing a threat to the world's destruction. In their quest to correct the fatal space-time abnormality, the group eventually figures out that teleportation to the future would fix and reinstate the proper flow of time. With Sherman and Peabody working together, they power the Wayback to its maximum capacity for the first time and use it to travel a few seconds into the future. Their plan works, and the emergent wormholes vacuum all the objects and people that were brought to the present, returning them to their original time periods and restoring the normal flow of time. Finally, the movie ends with a heartwarming scene of Peabody taking Sherman to school, implying that the loving father has once again regained custody of his son after their thrilling and time-traveling adventure. The trio's bond remains strong as they continue their journey through time, learning and growing together as a family. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more interesting movies.